Welcome back to Capralite. Today we're going to talk about the vacuum filter. The vacuum filter's purpose is to stop as much debris and slow down as much moisture as we can to keep it out of the tank, therefore keeping it out of the pump, because that's when pumps get damaged. So the vacuum filter goes from the tank to the pail. When you are milking, you tend to have some bubbles or foam that comes up in the pail, and sometimes will get sucked up into here and into the hose itself, into the vacuum hose. If you notice the black line, you'll always notice that the black line is an indicator of vacuum and not milk. Milk is blue. So when you get that in here, you want to take this off and clean it and make sure that you get all of that in there so mold doesn't develop. If mold does develop, then you can clean it 9 times out of 10. On occasion, you'll have to have a brush. The cable brush will help you do that as well. We sell those on the website. Or you can just have a little small brush. That will do the trick as well. A little soap and water and bleach, that'll clean these out. Now you can take these apart by twisting that off, and then you can see the filter on the inside, which we call screens. These screens go down to 10 microns. That catches stuff down to the size of dust and things of that nature that are very, very small that we generally can't even see. So that goes there, and of course this will go on here, and you just screw it back on. One thing you need to remember when you're milking is if this is a little loose, it's still on there, right? But it's creating a vacuum leak. So you want to make sure that that's tight. It needs to be snug, not tight down real tight, but nice and snug. That way this won't become a problem in creating a vacuum leak. Quite frequently, if you take it apart to clean it, you put it all back together, and it's like, okay, it's on there, and you forget about it, and then you're wondering where a leak is. That is a common call that we get, is, oh yeah, well that's loose. So tighten that up, and you go from there. Now one more thing before I move beyond that. This little O-ring in here is an O-ring that can sometimes come out. You don't need to pull it out when you're cleaning it, but if it does slide out, just make sure that you catch it out of your sink. Because if you lose that, then you have to buy a whole new one. We don't stock those. Now, the screens. Screens are pure white, and they start out that way. But over time, they will get dirty. In the vacuum area, when they start turning brown, you've usually had some sort of milk get in there, or your water during the cleaning has caused part of that discoloration. The discoloration can sometimes be an indicator that it's time to replace it because it's kind of getting wore out from all of the fluid going through it, or it can be an indication that milk has been in there and thus turning it brown. Now, that being said, it can be both. You should really replace these about every 6 months, or at minimum once a milking season. If you go longer than a milking season, this is probably going to affect your performance and slow the machine down, because the machine's going to have to work harder to create the vacuum it needs to be efficient. So replace these at minimum once a season. Now, cleaning, when you take it off of your machine, take that out, and just put it in some soapy water. We use Dawn and bleach here, and that cleans it properly. We only have to do that about once a week. But if you notice that you've got milk in here from the bubbles that come up and it sucks some milk droplets in here, then go ahead and clean it. Don't let it sit there, because that will mold and it will only accumulate more and more and more, and eventually this will turn black. So that's really all it is to it, other than go to the website. You'll find these. These are called screens, and this is the vacuum filter. You don't have to buy both of them at the same time. These come in 2, 5, and 10 packs. And you can order them, and we keep those in stock. If you have any questions about this, give us a call, 601-938-6562, or visit capralite.com or facebook.com/capralite. Any of those methods will get you to us, and we'll be glad to help. Thank you.